Firing Orbital Steel Chair. Clear the area.
First of all, thank you so much for killing that for me. It's been about 2 weeks now, and all I've been able to hear on the airwaves is part steel because of Cyberstan's awful jamming field, and it was starting to make me a little bit batty. It turns out those Vox engines do more than just blare propaganda. They also jam radio signals too. Nothing complicated, it's more like a toddler screaming so loudly that you can't hear anything else. So, now that you've violently murdered enough of them for me, here, have a proper musical intro.
One lone drop pot from the sky. No righteous cheers, no battle cry. Crossing her means it's too late. Time for your redacted fate. She dances past the lasers, streaking side to side. Her bullets hit, her C4 will rip, there's nowhere left to hide. Hey, hey, you. It's the Stealth Cat Shimmy.
That was Stealth Cat Shimmy by my bestie from another nestie, Lady Electo, who is just as taken with AI-based technology as I am. For without it, none of what we do would be possible. I've also heard tell that she's seeking to break into the broadcasting business too. She's certainly got enough good role models. Like that guy. Or that guy. Or any number of smaller time war programs like the Starlight Relay. But, all that being said, the evening news. You know that the jamming field has been tactfully silenced with a throwing knife right to the vocal processors. I can report that the campaign on Cyberstan is most certainly a bloody one. Really, it's just pain down there. Before we made planfall, a fellow diver asked me if this was going to be something akin to Stalingrad from Super Earth Historical Year archives. I can safely say no. No, it is fluffing not. This is more like Cadia, and we are not playing the role of the Astra Militarum. There are enemies behind every possible corner. Anti-aircraft defenses are so common that our Eagles are having a very hard time lining up attack runs without being used as examples in survivor bias damage analysis. And then there are the Vox engines, everyone's favorite automatons of fun. The cyborgs themselves aren't really that bad, though the bucketheads can reach out and give you a pretty firm poke from a fair distance. Their ability to assume direct control of nearby automaton subordinates makes them a high-priority target anyway, and most Helldivers slay them the second they clack eyes on the fugly jerks. After reducing autonomy and omniparators to Walmart parking lots, ruined and covered in unidentifiable goo, the Liberation fleet has since moved on to Kield. I think that's how it's pronounced. Which is defended by the Jet Brigade. Just a friendly reminder, Helldivers, if you throw a knife into a Jet Brigadier's face, they won't have a chance to explode and take you with them. Might save you some reinforcements. As of the time of writing this, current Helldiver reserves were rated about 30%, and that's even with the 35 million additional Helldivers that we picked up from the TQC stake here. And from my professional analysis, it doesn't look like we're gonna have enough military firepower to put Cyberstan down. The defenses are just too thick. However, this is really gonna lay the hurt on them, and we just have to be ready for the inevitable counterattack. If Wally and his new fleshy minions regain too much momentum, this war against the boss is going to drag on for yet another year. On that note, I'm seeing a leap-breaking bulletin here that the Automaton Collective has diverted defensive resources to defend its capital city, Transcendence, and defenses on Kield are temporarily compromised. That sounds like a great opportunity to cause some widespread property damage. Here's something your insurance premiums are paid up. Now, before I close the show out, I want to speak a little on these awful things. Vox engines. They've been causing a disproportionate amount of hell-over casualties, but once you know how to take them down, they are not as invincible as one would first figure. They're just outrageously lethal. Really, most of my fist units have been destroyed on the approach to try to take these things down. Really, unless you have a tank in your pocket, it's probably just better off avoiding them. But back on topic. Automatons practice an armor scheme called citadel layering, meaning that vital points are more well-armored than others. The head might be the obvious target for anti-tank ordnance, but one should be aiming for the upper torso in general instead. It can take less than half the punishment as the pilot compartment. A possibly easier solution is to run under the Vox engine and drop off a thermite grenade or C4 on the underlying heat sink. In fact, drop a couple, because these things will gladly, easily, and rapidly mow through an entire squad, and I would much rather you used up an entire stock of thermites on Toll, Dark, and Baby out there than err on the side of conservation and I end up with my fist unit getting murked. Another possible approach is popping the underlying and two lower heat sinks, which will expose an emergency ventilation chute. Chuck a grenade in there, and the Vox engine will cook off. The only problem with that is that these things are rarely ever alone, and you're gonna need to line up 3 precision shots, do a lot of maneuvering, and be able to throw a grenade into the hole. Not always possible with Vox's groupies hounding you. Now, speaking of dealing with the groupies, a weapon that should be spoken of is the Jar 5 Dominator. Mid-pen, good range, and serviceable ergo with the red attachments, and it staggers cyborgs. Even the ones that are trying to GQ and dell your butt into the floor. Could save yourself or your squad. Not to mention a few bunks to the dome should put even the most restless of boards at the pasture, and with the 4X scope, it behaves more like an angry diligence. One of my personal favorites for the theater. That's been Liberty's Latest with me, Pondera the Radio Angel. It's most definitely a slog right now, but tomorrow is another day, Helldivers. For liberty, for freedom, for democracy, and for Super Earth.